All right. So, hello everyone. This is Pamela. For some of you who haven't met me yet, I'm the community manager for POSB Parents. Now, it's a very strange phase, like setting we're all operating in right now, and I hope everyone's adjusting nicely to the new settings, to the new arrangements. Now, by the time you guys see this, most of you would have completed 2 full days of home-based everything, right? And we're all walking away with little, maybe like new discoveries about ourselves, about our children, about the whole setup. And we're walking away with probably with feelings of confusion, wonder, or even frustration. So to help you guys out, POSP Parents, together with Flying Cape, put together a series where we tackle the ABCs of home based learning. Now, keep in mind, this is not just for the kids. Okay, this is also for you because we are parents and we might not necessarily know how to navigate through this whole like very strange phase that we're all like in right now. So joining us today is Michelle Choy. She is an occupational therapist by day and a mummy of six by night. Yes, six. She's also the co-founder of Little Executives, and she runs a very popular parenting blog called Mommy Me. So say hi to everyone else, Michelle.
Hi. Hi,
So,
Pam. I'm good to be here.
thank you for joining us. I'm gonna get right into it. And I know because a big thing that parents are into right now, right? Because like this is really like a situation we're forced into is home-based learning. And just to start off with the basics, right? So you currently you're a mommy of six, but three of your children are going through the home-based learning journey. Maybe you can share with us how you set up like a conducive learning study environment for them at home.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, I actually already had 2 whole weeks of home-based learning with Kate,
Mm-hmm.
um, because she was on LOA when my oldest girl came back from the UK. She was there for an exchange program. So Kate was put on LOA for 2 weeks. So I had a head start
That's
with
good.
home-based learning. And I started really excited. I had one very eager student.
And an eager
I
mommy as well.
Yeah, the eager mommy. We set up her whole study table. We cleaned it out. We gave her a spot to do her work. But after the first week, things started to go downhill. She was pretty sick of home-based learning, and every time I walked in, she was using her gadgets for something else. You know, so so um, so what we can do in the beginning, but there were a few things I learned along the way. Number one, give them a designated spot so that signals the start of work. So
Okay.
if you have enough space and they have their bedrooms, it's a quiet place. In case grandma is outside watching TV or something, give them a quiet space in their own room, where they know they sit there. This is when homework starts. This
It
is when
signals that it's, yeah.
the school day starts. Um, if you don't are not lucky enough to have their own space, there are a lot of kids around. Even the dining table works. But what you can do is, instead of having a very messy table and they're
Yeah.
eating and studying at the same time, you can have a proper schedule. So, for example, after breakfast, everybody helps to clean up the dishes, and then the table is completely empty, and we will all take out our computers, our textbooks, our worksheets, and we'll start doing our day's work. And then we can break for lunch. So find just a specific spot, instead of doing it on the floor, sprout all over the floor, or on the bed or in the sofa. Find a proper spot for them.
So this sounds like tips also for adults who have to work from home, right?
Yeah.
Because we're so used to working at a desk and everything. So like this is also something that parents can apply for themselves,
Yes,
right?
and another very important thing to remember is posture. You know,
Yes.
because sometimes you think, oh, you will start to get comfortable. I'll just take my laptop onto my bed and sit
Or
there
on
and
a
do my
couch,
work.
yeah.
Yeah. But after a while, you realize you have a sore neck. Even for our children, we have little children who has to see physiotherapists, chirotherapists when they're 8 or 9.
That's
And
quite young.
it's
Okay.
because of gadgets. So watch their posture.
So maintaining posture, proper environment, having that like space for them to properly work and signal that this is work time is very crucial
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah,
What
and
about
free
like,
of
okay,
distractions, free of grandparents watching TV or baby screaming and crying. You
which
know,
I'm sure is a reality a lot of our parents are like
yes.
operating in
But
right
having
now.
said that, it nowadays we have technology. There are noise cancelling headphones.
So there's a
And
lot to like take
yeah,
advantage of right now.
and to be really honest, I mean, okay, depending on the age of your child, that is the ideal situation. But in
Correct.
most cases, you may not have the ideal situation. So, for example, like for me in our household, there's 11 of us in a household, and I still remember when my eldest was doing her PSLE. Right, she was the oldest. She had five. She had other siblings, four other siblings then,
Wow.
and we had another five neighbors in the house. Right, and a neighbor that walked past, she said, I'm so impressed with your daughter. She can be sitting in a corner in the living room. They didn't even have a study desk in their bedroom. It was just filled with beds, right? And she said, I'm so impressed how she could sit in a corner and with all this noise, she could still be concentrating for 3 hours doing her math.
She was focused.
Yeah. So ideally, if they can have a quiet room, but having said that, sometimes children also need to learn to adapt. If
To
this
be
is your home
flexible, that's
environment,
true.
this is your home environment. And we have to build them up to be resilient, to block out distractions and to focus.
When it comes to sharing like gadgets, right? Because, okay, with home based learning and again, with parents working from home, a lot of the materials will need to be taken online.
Yeah.
And granted, some parents, some families might not necessarily have enough gadgets to go around in order to,
Yeah.
to supplement or to continue that learning. So, how do you suggest people operate around, let's say, maybe
Yeah.
they have two kids who need to
Yes.
do, like computer time and things like that, like at the
Yeah.
same time? How should we operate around that?
Yeah. So when I was looking through my kids' HBL timetable, I found that they are quite different. So for the older children, the structure is there. For example, 10 o'clock, you could be online for your math, 11 for chemistry, 12 for this and for that. Okay. But for Kate, who is in primary 2,
Okay.
hers is quite free. So they allocate one whole day just for math. Another, for example, Wednesday is math day, Thursday is Chinese, Friday is English. But every day at 12 o'clock, 12 to 12:30, they have to get online live with their teacher and their classmates. So the first thing I did was to take all the timetables. So for example, if they each had their own gadgets, that's fine because you can use laptops or iPads. A phone, I find it a little bit small, but if you have no choice, you can still do the Zoom on the phone.
On mobile,
On
yes.
mobile. But for example, they really had to share the gadgets. So what I did first was to take all the timetables, put together, and figure out when are the online live sessions going. So luckily for us, none of them clash. So you can allocate the live sessions first. So who has privilege of using the gadget at that point in time, because you have to be online with your teacher and all your classmates. And for the rest of the time, the subjects that can be a bit more flexible, for example, Kate, she's given a whole day to do math. Then I slotted her math into the other time slots that the brother was not using the gadget.
That works in really fine then, because okay, one of the main concerns that a lot of parents shared in this poll we ran in the community, right, was about time management.
Yeah.
And I know that this is not just about the schedule that the children have to follow, but it's also like their own schedule. So when it comes to creating like that timetable for everyone to work around, you're suggesting they look at the required time that kids need to be around as well, just so that everything can revolve around that. So you see which is flexible, you see which isn't.
Yeah. And I think, hang on, having said that, I also know that teachers are, give parents a lot of leeway. I've seen that if you can't get online for whatever reason, you have not enough gadgets or, whatever reason, you can still go in. There's a pre-recorded segment where you can still look at it. And if, for example, you really have 4 children and 1 gadget and it's, a logistic nightmare, teachers are around. Give them an email. Class Dojo, let them know your situation, and I'm sure they're more than willing to help you through that.
So it's quite accessible. They make sure it's accessible to everyone, not just like in terms of having the gadget, but also like the timing and everything.
Yeah. So what we were speaking about was getting online for to ensure that all their work is done on SLS, on the different portals. That's one. I think the other big issue is where parents have to work. They
Yes.
are working, but yet there are children, the P1s, the lower primary kids.
They need more attention.
They need a help from parents. Okay, the first 3 days, it was, mommy, I can't get it, mommy, the link doesn't work, and all that kind of things. So how we can sort that out? It really, really, I mean, everybody's work situation is different. So maybe I can just share with you one situation that has worked for me, and then we can talk about variations. So initially, I spread out her day, her work day throughout the day, right? So
Okay.
we started, for example, we had a schedule from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So we put in different subjects. We put in PE, we put in her art and craft, we put in her meals. That was a very ambitious, perfect looking
At the
timetable
start, yeah.
at the start. But after the first week, we threw that out the window because I got agitated and she got agitated where 3 o'clock came, but mommy was on a, meeting
On a call,
call.
yeah.
And yeah, mommy, quickly. She was just standing next to me, bothering me that it was 3 o'clock and we had to do our math, right? So that didn't work. So I realized we need some flexibility. So found out that instead of spreading out her work throughout the day, and every time I walked away to do my work on my computer, when I came back, I would find her doing something else on her
Oh
gadget.
no.
She'll be watching a movie, she'll be on YouTube, and I didn't want that, right? So what I found that for me, because I do have flexibility in my work day, more or less. So what I did instead was to change my timetable. So I said, all right, Kate, we will spend the morning for academic work. Okay, we will focus, get that done, and I will be doing my own work, but I would set up my table right next to you. Okay, so if
Okay.
you need help with your work, your math concepts that
Like
you
I'm
couldn't
right here.
understand, I'm right here. So you do your work, and I can monitor her that she's not doing other stuff but schoolwork, right? So I will get my work done, and then we'll have lunch. So sometimes it became a late lunch, but it was fine. And then in the afternoons, we could take a break. We could do something fun. And that way, I wouldn't be so stressed throughout the day, toggling between her work and my work. And
That's true.
yeah,
And I guess her seeing you also needing to focus, like
yeah,
you're like modeling the type of like behavior she'll need to be
that's
like
right.
accepting to. So it's easier for children to I guess like mimic that when they
Yeah,
see like their parents doing that as well. So that's a very helpful tip for parents right now. Like don't be afraid to work next to your child and
yeah.
maybe just give them something to do, right?
Yeah. So, like I was saying, that is one option. That is if you have flexible timing. However, for some parents where they have hourly deadlines, you
Yes.
need to get some project out at 10 o'clock, and I can't sit there with my child, but I would have a pocket of time at 2 or 3 o'clock. That kind of thing. If you are a bit limited by that, I would say use the device or things to your advantage where your child can be gainfully occupied doing something to buy you time, right? Because we
Yeah.
that's also part of our stress that they are doing something that we don't want them to do on their gadgets,
True.
right? So for example, if in the morning you found you need to spend 2 full hours full on with your work, and
Hmm.
she's alone, I found a few things that could buy me time for her to do gainfully. One would be, I call it silent reading, because they have silent reading in school.
Hmm.
So I say at home the silent reading is 1 hour. So when I'm doing my work, I want you to be sitting there doing silent reading, and in the living room, so somebody could supervise her, like a helper could ensure she's just sitting there reading, right? Two, she can do her own PE lesson. So I've
Okay.
taught her how to Google. You just Google physical education for kids, and you have all the different ones popping up. And I like those where it's not a cartoon, where it's real
It's real
children,
people.
yeah, doing it. And she's found some that goes on for quite long, and she's smart enough now to look for 3 or 4 together. So that gives her a 1 hour PE session.
That's
So after reading for
smart.
an hour, it's time to move, right? So I allow her to do that. That has really bought me 2 hours of time
Free
when
time
she's
for you.
doing,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
to do my work, when she's doing something gameful. Third thing is, if you have a lot of young children in preschool plus 1 or 2 lower primary kids, which I at one point in time I had 5 kids under the age of 10,
Wow.
right?
Oh my
How did
gosh.
I cook meals? How
How
did I
did you
do that?
manage?
Yeah, how did I
Yeah.
manage, right? So I would also have a huge box of junk. They were free to explore and play around with that junk, and they could spend 2 to 3 hours together. So
Entertaining themselves.
yeah, throw in all
Yeah.
your bits and bobs that you have when you buy things, plastic wrapping from boxes or the sewing, anything that's left over all goes into that huge box.
They'll find something interesting for sure anyway.
If you were to walk around your house, I'm sure you could gather, a whole box of stuff. And when kids are bored and they say, I have nothing to do, I'm bored, it's a great opportunity for them to be creative. So
and I guess it's also not bad for them to be bored, like to learn how to be bored, to learn how to manage that. Yeah.
And it also teaches them to get along together, teamwork,
I can imagine with kids at home, you're stuck at home for a month, they're bound to like get at each other and fight, right? So how do you like work that in? I mean, like, how do you resolve those issues when they're living, like they're really at close proximities for such a long period of time?
Yeah. I think that is going to be a real issue because in generally in our lives, we have the weekdays where they go to school, they are happy to see each other for the first hour when they come home, and then they start quarreling, right? And on the weekends, they have the different enrichment classes, so they have
extracurriculars, true.
And they have the physical time in the playground and all of that. But they're going to be stuck at home. So remember that it is a marathon, it's not a sprint. We're going to survive this for 4 weeks together, right?
So mentally prepare,
Yeah. So firstly, I think everyone needs to lower their expectations. So bear in mind that the children are also adjusting. They are going through a lot of changes. Their routines have changed.
That's true.
They may be feeling a lot of anxiety. They may not be able to verbalize their emotions, what's going on. So be a bit more understanding. Give them more space. They may throw some tantrums. They may play up. To teach them that we are all in this together. Family is the place where we learn to be patient, where we learn to, still care for our siblings, even though, we are so mad with them, that we're all growing together. We're all learning together. And 3, I think we really do need to factor in time for them to be apart, for them to
give them alone time.
Yeah, give them alone time. Even we need that. I found that after the first week, I was hiding in my room from Kate because she didn't stop talking. She had so many questions. She was asking me. She was coming to me with her joke book. She was, bothering me.
And I guess because kids are happy that like mommy and daddy are home constantly. Like that's a treat for them, right?
Yeah, but sometimes 24/7 it's really too much. So you can think of some ways how you can separate your kids for certain hours of the day. Maybe you have some time after lunch where it's quiet time. Either you all read, or you can even have a roster for a room. If let's say you don't have enough, if the kids don't have their own bedroom
space,
If for example, like we had 4 kids sharing one room, you could roster that room. You can go in there for your own silent time from this 12 o'clock to 12:30. And I think we are quite lucky that we're still allowed to go out for a walk. Use that to your advantage. Children really need that. They need fresh air. They need to
run around.
Walk it off. Yeah. They need to run it off. So if you have grandparents living with you, or if you have a helper, maybe that's your me time where someone takes one child or all 3 out, depending on what is your objective.
What arrangement you have as well at home, right?
Yes. If it's for them to expend the energy, maybe, hubby can take all of them out together while you have some peace and quiet in the home for that hour. Yeah. So just be aware that kids need all of that, it's really too much to expect them to be cooped up in the house, not walking out the door. I mean, of course, you put precautions, wear your mask if you're going out to have
social distancing walk. That's true.
But it's really too difficult for them. If you expect them to be in the safe space for a whole month, not being able to
spend a few minutes outdoors,
it's too much to ask of them.
That's true, even for adults,
and to be nice to each other.
That's true. That's true. Also for everyone's sanity, I guess, like that few minutes of outdoors would do everyone some good.
And I think maybe something like craft work is good actually to calm everyone down. It takes a lot of time. Whether you just make your own Play-Doh, they spend a long time doing that. Repetitive work, whether they want to paint, and we can use technology for our benefit.
Yeah,
For
that's
example,
true.
my daughter, she's 18, and she paints beautiful lifelike dogs that people thought it was a photograph. And we asked her, where did you learn that from? She said, YouTube, Mom. I was like, YouTube? She's like, Mom, you can learn anything on YouTube. The anyone in the world, the really professional artists, they are so good. They put their step-by-step tutorials on YouTube, so we can get
And
our
I feel
kids
like
to
screen time
yeah,
gets a lot of bad rep right now because
yeah,
everyone's so wary and they limit the screen time that they expose their children to. But there's a good side to that too. Like what you said, there are a lot of things they can still pick up and learn,
yeah,
right? And I think this is something that parents will also have to understand because now with home based learning and everything, children and adults are going to have to rely on the technology more and more to
yeah.
continue that learning,
Yeah, I
right?
think yes, like Pam was saying. I mean, screen time has a bad reputation, right? But we have to be a bit more discerning. What we call screen time and
Yeah.
technology. So, for example, now enrichment classes they all can run, and we've gone virtual. And some parents were saying that, oh, but screen time is bad. But there's a difference. When we say screen time is bad, those are the games that the kids are playing, with the bright, flashy lights. Um, all that is not good. But for example, like us, we've put our classes, our virtual classes
Online.
online, and the teachers are still there being interactive with the children, and good learning can still happen.
And
In
also it's also teaching the children how to adapt to different like learning like
yes,
resources and things like that because I mean we grew up learning in a classroom setting, very simple, very straightforward,
yeah,
but now kids have to learn how to do it in a different way, and maybe like
that's
10,
right.
15 years down the road it's going to be very different. So this is
Yes,
like a certain, maybe it's building like a certain adaptability, flexibility, or even resilience to like learn in
exactly.
whatever type of environment you have.
Exactly. So if we want to take this, we look at this a bit more positively. It is really an opportunity. You know how there's something called 21st century skills,
Yes.
exactly the things that you were mentioning: adaptability, flexibility, resilience, being able to see things from a different perspective, being able to accept change.
Hmm.
These are good and very important lessons that we have the ability to teach our kids
Now more
during
than
this
ever, it's
time
true.
more than ever. And I have actually, I know home-based learning, everyone's probably going to go crazy, right? But what I've done after my second week of home-based learning, that instead of feeling like I was a failure, like, I can't teach, I flipped it around and I thought, okay, you know what? I'm just going to focus on the academic work in the morning and I'm just going to cut myself some slack, right? We'll do
Yeah.
our best that we can. But learning is not just about what goes on in the textbooks. So for the second half of the day, we can do other learning. There's a lot more learning that we can do,
That's
whether it
true.
is all these attributes and characteristics of 21st century skills, or we could even further what she was learning online. So, for example, for Kate last week, we were learning multiplication and division,
Hmm.
and that's just textbook knowledge. So what happened was in the afternoon we did some baking,
Oh,
and I
okay.
linked it and I said, look, so okay, you see, so now you know why we need to know, because if I was cutting the recipe in half, or if I was
You
doubling
need
the
to divide it.
recipe,
That's
yeah,
true.
you know that. And then she was like, oh, yeah,
So it's the application after, like
that's right,
you're integrating it into your everyday life.
yeah,
And I'm sure like children would remember these things easier because it's
that's
something that they did with their own hands, or it's
yeah.
something they went through like the entire motion of actually like doing the division or multiplication or things
Yes,
like that.
that's right. And I think another big question a lot of parents ask is that I have so many kids, I have to teach them,
Yes.
and I have to cook, you know. So I know a lot of parents who homeschool their kids, what they do is they involve the children.
Oh, that's
So,
okay.
yeah, so in the meal prep, the chopping is so, for example, like for me, when from the time Kate was 3, I already got her into the kitchen. So she would help me with all the chopping, the weighing, the measuring, the rinsing, and that would occupy them, while we are
Yeah.
trying to make the family meal.
And it's also teaching them how to be involved in like little things like chores at home,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
letting them feel like, you're part of the household as well. So this is like
yeah.
a contribution that you have to make.
Yeah, and that's right. Giving them a daily routine of some chores, some responsibility would be good at this time. We need we need to put in place a new routine to anchor them. all their old routines have just suddenly
Been
vanished.
thrown out the window. That's true.
Yeah, and they're
And all of a
feeling little
sudden,
bit,
like very sudden, might I add.
that's right. And they might be feeling a little bit unsettled. So you can start new routines where you wake up, you maybe you help mommy to water the plants, or you sweep the floor, and they do it at a certain time. Maybe after breakfast, you do this. If after lunch, you do that. It would also help them as well.
So these are like little activities parents can already do at home, like chores, things like that. Setting up a routine, maybe like the first thing you get out of bed, you make your bed, you fix your room, get your study area fixed. That I'm sure like a lot of parents will be able to apply. What I know some parents are a bit anxious about is knowing the lessons that their children will have to learn, right? So how important is it for parents to really know the syllabus like backwards and forwards?
Yeah, that was my first concern after my first week of HBL. I was getting so stressed, and I was thinking, firstly, it's really hard teaching your own kid. You get so frustrated.
That's true.
But the second thing I was wondering, like when full HBL, starts, how do we expect every parent, who are not even educators, to do this? Because this is the job of the teachers that they've been trained to do.
And teachers, are professionally trained to do these things.
Right? So I spoke to the teachers, I spoke to some, principals, and I spoke to people at MOE, and I realized that is not our job.
So many parents will be comforted by that.
That I was so surprised to realize that our role is not to teach them. Our role is to ensure they get out of bed at the right time, that they get into SLS every day and they look at their assignment list and they complete it at the right time, and they get in front of the screen at the right time where there's a live lesson. That is our role. So I was, like, phew, okay, I feel much better. But having said that, that the reality is slightly different. So we need to, it's a balance actually. Okay. So, in a continuum, we're not expected to do like everything. We're not expected to replace a teacher's role. But having, after saying that, don't think that we can just, wash our hands,
plop them in front of the computer and be like, you're good.
Because what I noticed from Kate as well is that even while she was attending school with the teacher there teaching the whole class of 40, there were math concepts that she still didn't understand. When she came home, she still, couldn't do her homework. And when I asked her, did your teacher teach you that? And she said, yes, but I can do this better, And so I have been in communication with a math teacher, and I know that every child is different. She speaks really well, and, she sounds like a bright child, but she really struggles with numbers. So we have to know our own children. So don't expect that while the teachers, tell us that it's not our job and everything's on SLS, that you go in there, you watch some videos, you learn about it, you read your textbooks, you do your
you do the exercises,
but there would be times where they don't understand, they don't get it, and you need to step in and think about it. That's why we have a whole huge tuition industry.
That's true.
Because the standard this hasn't changed. The curriculum didn't change. They just went online. But some kids will just not be able to.
So if they need help during like the regular schooling program, then they're still going to need maybe the extra help with the home-based learning setup.
Yeah, but don't worry, because teachers would have told you that they are just a dojo away, they are just an email away. If you're stuck with anything, reach out to them. Together, I found my teachers to be really helpful, and we can solve it together for the child. Yeah.
And I guess parents also need to understand that it's okay if, the children aren't doing very well in all the subjects, right? They're going to have some challenges, and, that's fine. You can help them, and, like maybe you need to spend more time on one subject over another. And that, again, that's okay. Because I think a lot of the stress maybe comes from the comparison that naturally happens. I'm not going to say it's not natural, but it does naturally happen. And there are still grades that need to be met. Yeah. But so I think just managing the stress levels, right?
That's right. I think we shouldn't forget that we are at a very strange period of time where this is thrust upon parents. This have been expected of teachers to suddenly, create online material.
Make the adjustment.
So everybody's doing the best that they can, So I think we should just be gentler on ourselves, on our children, on our teachers. And if everybody is more understanding, a bit more patient, we can get through this.
That's true. And that's the goal, I feel. At this point, really, the goal should be just to get through this with as little as stress as possible.
Yeah.
And, like hopefully we come out at the end better people, happier people, more appreciative and grateful.
That's right. And to find a silver lining, because we need to recognize that it's really not easy. It's not easy. I mean, we had our kids in childcare, we had our kids in student care while we went to work. Now we are all stuck at home having to do the same work or even double work because, we have to adapt.
That's true.
And then we have our kids running around the house. It is a tall order. A lot of parents, I think one advice I could give to you is if you feel like you're on this treadmill, that treadmill that you can't get off, and you are behind, like every day you're behind your work, you're behind with the kids. What I found, because I felt like that after the second week, that I'm just losing this, nothing's working. And I need more time. I need more time to get prepared. So what I did was to use the weekend, use a Saturday. It's not going to kill them if they sit there and watch 3 movies on Saturday with the husband.
That's true.
There's a whole long list anyway of good movies that teaches them resilience and that kind of stuff. So plonk them there. Give yourself 6 hours, 8 hours. Whether you need to do meal prep, cook a huge batch of pasta sauce and freeze it for the next 5 days. Whether you need to, for Kate was I had to pull out. I wanted to look through her entire week of HBL so that I was prepared and I knew, and I could sort out a proper schedule and a proper. We need time to be prepared in the beginning so that we can tackle the next week. I think that is very important. And to come into
the preparation.
Monday and realize that I'm losing it. My work has started, and then the kid, they're screaming and everything. So give yourself some time during the weekend away from the kids, where you can maybe just calm down, look through focus what you need to have some time to prepare first, so that the whole week is ready. Because this was thrust onto us so suddenly. I think a lot of parents were really unprepared.
The changes were rather abrupt. So I can imagine that some people, a lot of people are having a difficult time like getting around this now.
Yeah. So I find that, we all have an ideal. We want our kids to be fed well. We want them to be, engaged.
And that's good at the start, I feel. Like setting those ideals, setting those goals is very good at the start.
That's right. But don't forget that sometimes we're asking too much of ourselves. We want to be super mom. We want to do the best. But sometimes at the end, if you can't achieve that, you feel, like you're
disappointed. Like you feel defeated.
Yeah. And, that's what happened. And so I had this whole long list of to-do lists, right? And I was so eager. I was so excited. But as her HBL came on and, we weren't nailing it, I was starting to feel like every day, oh dear, today, Kate, it was another disaster. All your work is like 75% is not done. Where did the time just go? Everything that I wanted to do wasn't done. And then that to-do list kept growing until I felt that it was like quicksand.
It's never ending. Yeah.
So I told myself on the weekend, you know what? I'm gonna chill. I'm going to step back. You can watch 2 whole movies, but of course you choose the movies for her.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she had a great time with daddy and, they can do their thing. While I gave myself permission to have my time to then figure things out. And I decided that if every day I could prioritize, if I had 3 big things that if I could achieve that day, it would be a successful day.
Yeah, you'd feel accomplished that day.
Yeah. Then at the end of the day, every day became a very positive day. Instead of having a whole list and only doing 5, every day I felt like,
so there's no need to feel like you're drowning and like a to-do list that you have to accomplish every day. Just focusing on like really the priority, like really keep it simple. That's true. That's very helpful.
And there was one parent who gave me a good suggestion. She was giving some comments on my Facebook, and it was really cute. And she said, I was the same. I was so ambitious. I started out with 5 hours a day, but now we've gone down to 3. And I could bet, and the kids are getting annoyed with each other. But she said what worked was that after a full day, every night after dinner, they would have a family movie night as a reward.
Oh, that's
You
nice.
know,
Just
and
like a way to like end the day well.
yeah. So I mean, you don't have to start off with this, but trust us. You know, if you've been locked down for 3 weeks, I think
You're
just
gonna
getting
make
through.
adjustments along the
Yeah,
way. Yeah, that's true. That's
your
true.
expectations will slip and you're exhausted. You know, you had enough of the kids screaming. I mean, literally, they can't go out to the swimming classes or see
That's
grandma
true.
or all that kind
And
of
let's
stuff.
be real, like staying at
Yeah,
home, like we will feel just as frustrated as they are. So let's just
that's
understand
right.
that our children are probably going through the same range of emotions as
Yeah.
we are, right?
Yeah. And to keep everybody's spirits up, I thought that was an amazing idea that okay, we just focus, we will get whatever we need to get done in a day and aim for dinner and then we'll all just chill for a nice movie. I think that was a lovely idea.
So parents, remember, you are gonna start out with ambition, but as you go along, you need to be flexible and adjust based on what your family needs and based on how your family will need to relax also at each day, right? Because you don't want to go through this like very bad mood and like have sour cream all day long.
Yeah.
So just make sure that you do something like a bit happy at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
And if you think about the big on the big scheme of things, after this whole episode, the dust is settled, think about what that experience would have been for your children. Would you want them to come out of it thinking that that was the worst time
Yeah.
ever? Mommy was yelling at me, mommy was yelling at my brothers, we were tearing each other's hair out, or did we enjoy family time?
Did we
uh,
get closer to each other?
yeah, did we play a lot of board games? Did we try to reach out and
Yeah.
help other people? It's in our power actually to shape this whole experience for them and how we as a generation go through a crisis. Do we show our strength? It's only really tested in times like this, or do we succumb to it and wallow in depression, and then every day is just a horrible day that we can't wait for it
And
to
you
be.
don't want your children to remember
Yeah,
this month as that. That's very
yeah,
true. That's very true. So
yeah.
thank you very much, Michelle. It was such
Pleasure.
a pleasure talking to you. And I hope all the members of POSB parents are able to, pick up little lessons here and there to help you get through this whole month, this whole very, very strange month. So again, thank you very much, Michelle.
Welcome,
And
and stay safe, everybody.
yeah, stay home, stay safe, and stay healthy, guys.
All right.
Love
See
seeing you
you.
all. Bye bye.
Bye.